Welcome back to 3 Up, 3 Downs division breakdowns. We're starting off with the World Series champions, moving on to the AL West, and that being the Houston Astros, a team that has been so consistent, even through the scandals, even through the bullshit. They've stayed clean, and well, maybe not clean, but they've continued a consistent run of baseball, winning last year's Fall Classic. Looking at this roster, I had to double check because in reality, they just added one player, and they didn't lose anybody. And the fact is, they added Jose Abreu, a former MVP, to solidify a first base position that had some question marks, but now not anymore, because the fact is, this Astros team, the starting nine, it got better with Jose Abreu. Let's take a look at it. Obviously, you've got the former MVP, Jose Abreu, Jose Altuve, leading off for this Astros team before you get into the young gun Kyle Tucker, Alex Bregman, Yordan Alvarez, and then finally Jose Abreu. And then you see the World Series MVP, the playoff MVP, Jeremy Pena, Chas McCormick, Jake Myers, and Martin Maldonado. What a roster. Am I right, Alex, or am I right?
Yeah, you're right. And it was like probably the best lineup in baseball last year. And they go ahead and sign the best hitter one of the best hitters on the market, definitely the best first baseman, Jose Abreu. Couldn't really be a more perfect fit for this team. I think he's going to have a fantastic year sliding in right here. We'll say quickly because, we can talk all day about how good this lineup is, but I'll give you a little fun insight here. Jose Abreu to lead the AL in RBIs, I think, is one of the best prop bets you can make going into the year. Don't bet what you can lose. Let's say that. Don't take my advice too strongly, but this is a guy that was close to the top of RBIs forever with the White Sox. Now this is the best lineup he's ever played in. He's going to be in between Jeremy Pena and Yordan Alvarez. Just an incredible position for him. I'm excited to see what he'll do in the midst of this lineup. But, it's balanced. There's lefties, there's righties. They hit for power, they hit for average. They have great plate approaches. This is what you want in the lineup. And then they play good defense. The outfield is rangy, Kyle Tucker's a great fielder, McCormick, Jake Myers, all really good fielders. So it's just like, what is a weakness out of this lineup? And there just isn't one, so don't look for one. Machete Maldonado, I'm glad he's back. Just a vibe guy for this team. Yep. He hits clutch homers. He does clutch things behind the plate. I would be a little more concerned about this team if they lost Machete Maldonado. And we'll see how much he plays. He's 35 now, 36. 36, going on 37. Yep. I guess the only other thing I have to say about this lineup, which is a terrifying thought, is outside of Jose Abreu and Maldonado and Altuve, everyone is under 30. Yep. Everyone is 5 more years.
I'll go I'll one up you. You've got 4 guys that could potentially win the AL MVP.
Yeah, and they're all in their prime years with 5 or 6 more years to go.
Realistically, 5 or 6 guys that actually your first 6 batters could realistically, any 6 of those guys could win the AL MVP.
They really could. That's how good this team is. And it's just crazy. It's crazy. And it's topped off with Yordan Alvarez, who's one of the premier hitters in baseball. Don't be surprised if he hits 60 this year. Don't be. That's how good he is. That's what his exit velocity last year and launch angle said he should have hit almost as many as Judge.
Yeah. If he was in New York, I'm sure he hit more.
Yeah, if he was in New York, he would have hit 60.
That's for sure.
Dangerous.
No, it's terrifying. There's no better way to put it. Let's move on to the rotation and the bullpen. This team, they lost one player, Justin Verlander. Yeah, went out, won the AL Cy Young, was excellent throughout the whole campaign of last season. No question about it. But you graduated that role to Framber Valdez, a guy that has shown in his 2-3 years of service time at this point that he can be an ace for this Houston Astros, and he will be the future ace for this Houston Astros as they look to turn it over to the young 29, almost 30-year-old. From there, Christian Javier, another young gun that has kind of grown through the Houston Astros organization before going to Luis Garcia, Jose Uridi, and then potentially, it's a little bit of a fight, and I do think Lance McCullers Jr. wins this one, so it will be interesting to see where he slots back into this rotation as the potential 3rd starter, maybe the 2nd, back everyone down 1. But you've got a top prospect in Hunter Brown, the 24-and-a-half-year-old, former 5th-round pick, looks to make his season. Looks to make the roster as a season regular, but that's a tough rotation to crack for Hunter Brown. What do you got on the rotation for the Houston Astros?
I mean, again, similar to the lineup, it's elite from top to bottom, all in their prime years as well. Framber is going to be a Cy Young contender. He was last year. He just seemingly continues to progress and get better and better. Most sinker ball pitchers, I think you see them top out at like a 3 ERA on good years. You know, there's a little more variance because they get hit more. But Framber now has wipeout pitches. This curveball is just, it bends people over, and they have nothing to do. Christian Javier, very good. We saw a fantastic performance from him in the playoffs when he wasn't a part of the rotation, but he came in and had a huge game. Luis Garcia is one to watch, a guy who throughout his whole career has had this incredibly long and like painstaking delivery where he cradled
the baby. I think it got banned.
It did get banned because of the pitch clock. Well, it didn't get banned, but it got banned because he can't get it off in time with the pitch clock. So now he has changed to a very different windup, which will be interesting to see. It's one of the casualties of these new rules. I mean, It's a little upsetting because as much as it's painstakingly boring to watch him cradle rock the baby the whole time, it was kind of a fun little touch. But then quickly, Urquidy, he's going to have a good year. He's 28. He's kind of pitched to contact, good 5th starter. Hunter Brown is a guy I want to key in on a little bit here. I saw an overlay of him last year, and he looks exactly like Justin Verlander. And when I saw him pitch, it was like, wow, this guy kind of looks exactly like Justin Verlander. And then I see the overlay. I'm like, he has the exact same pitches. He throws the ball the exact same way. It's like he was built in a lab to be the next Verlander. And there's a huge gap between him and Justin Verlander. Let's not forget Justin Verlander's first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the best pitchers we've ever seen in our lifetime. But Hunter Brown is a guy who, again, 5th-round pick from 2019, is looking to be like one of the top young pitchers in baseball. What the Astros do, right? They just develop.
You got to respect a team that they have 6 potential starters. All of them grew up in the Houston Astros organization. You just love to see that.
None of them were high picks. We have 4 amateur free agents.
Yep.
You have Hunter Brown, a 5th-round pick, and McCullers was a 1st-rounder. But, like, we're not talking about, like, elite pedigree prospects going into this. Like, amateur free agents are young guys who you develop.
Yep.
And that's what they do. So, I mean, elite rotation with the high-end stuff. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I would say this might be one of the more weak points of the team, given how good the lineup is. I wouldn't say this is a strong suit. I wouldn't be surprised if they go add a huge, big-name starter at the deadline. That's the type of thing that they could do to just push them over the top. But they don't need it, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Let's hop into the bullpen, a team that had a fantastic bullpen, returning again in the closing role. Ryan Presley, a guy who can easily go for 30 saves. Rafael Montero, Brian Abreu, Hector Neris, Ryan Stanek, Phil Matten, Matt Gage, and Seth Martinez. What do you got on the bullpen?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's back, and the bullpen was great last year. So, again, I think they could use a little bit more high end there, and that's because of the Astros. Any other team, I'd say this team's fine, you know? But when you look at a team with this load of a roster, this is an area they'll probably look to improve.
Yep.
Don't be surprised if there's another big deadline reliever that comes this way. I totally see that happening, but they don't need it again. This is all luxury additions that they could do. Ryan Presley's 34 now. That's a little bit of a question mark to me. Not that I expect him to regress, but he's getting older, and he's never had, like, the elite stuff. He's just been a really good pitcher.
Yeah, but he was probably their most reliable
He's
reliever
a great player.
throughout the run last year.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. This is me being relative, trying to pick holes in something that is like chainmail. There's holes, but you can't get through them.
That's what we're here to do. That's what we're here to discuss, and it's tough to do when you're looking at a Houston Astros lineup like we are right now.
Yeah, there's just no weaknesses. The one thing that I will say, they don't have lefty relievers.
Nope.
Which I don't think matters for them, and they may not care about that. Say our guys are good enough to go up against these guys. But yeah, again, really, really good, proven bullpen.
Yeah.
Don't be surprised if they add there because they can.
And in reality, as we talked about, Lance McCullers injured at this point. Also on the injury list, Michael Brantley. He will return at some point from a shoulder surgery in the offseason. If you had to pick, and this might be the hardest team to pick an X factor on because realistically, any of them could be that X factor. A lot of them probably will be that X factor for at least any other team in the MLB. Who's your X factor on the Houston Astros?
Yeah, so this is tough. I'm gonna go with. I think the lineup. There's a lot of guys who could have big years. I just don't think they're needed to have those big years. It's hard to make them X factors. But I'm gonna go with It's tough. I'm between two guys. I'm going to go with Christian Javier. I was debating Hunter Brown too. I think somebody needs to step in, and this could be McCullers, but I'm gonna go with Javier. Somebody needs to be that number 2 starter, and I think McCullers right now, if I were to guess, if they were going into the playoffs healthy, would be that number 2. But somebody's got to take a jump for them to be confident and not have to go trade for a big name starter, because I think if they have their pick, they're just not going to make moves.
Yeah.
If they don't have to give up prospect capital, why would they?
I agree.
So I'm looking at Christian Javier. What can he do to establish himself? Maybe take that next step like we saw Framber make. And I'd expect it. Again, it's the Astros. This is what happens in Houston. But he's going to be my number. Yeah, he's going to be my X factor. Hopefully he develops into that number 2 starter that they trust and rely upon.
Yeah, no, I understand it. I'm also going to pick from the rotation in Framber Valdez. He was the one that rocked the baby, right? Was Valdez?
No,
was that
Luis
Javier?
Garcia.
Ah, that was Luis. I'm going to put the pressure on Framber after taking over the role from Justin Verlander. I think you need to see him be that ace. I think he has all the potential in the world if he can piece it together for a full season in the number 1 role. Whew, terrifying for years to come. Predictions-wise, predictions. I've got this team finishing easily first in the AL West. It might be a little bit of a dogfight with the Seattle Mariners, but the Houston Astros finishing first in the AL West. Who do you got?
Yeah, first. They're too good. They're too deep. Another one of those teams, when injuries happen, they get better.
Yep.
Well, maybe not better, but they reproduce. They replenish with other prospects. So I have no questions about this team. I have no questions about what one injury could do to this team. This team it's elite. They're the World Series favorite right now.
Yep. And that concludes the World Series champs, the Houston Astros. Look forward to more AL West division breakdowns. Feel free to comment, like, subscribe if we've missed anything, Astro fans. If you feel like you've got some critiques to this roster that we really can't find any, feel free to shoot them in there. Otherwise, look out for the Seattle Mariners next.